Hello, everyone, it's me again. And I'm here with another Raimiverse What If. Today's view will be what if Vulture was in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies? This actually could have been possible because Sam Raimi had actually tried to include Vulture in the films before. I mean, he was in the tie-in games, but he wasn't in the movies. He was supposed to make his debut as the villain in Spider-Man 3, and Ben Kingsley was the actor that Raimi had in mind for Vulture. And apparently his whole storyline was that he wanted revenge on Spider-Man for putting him away in prison. And I heard somewhere that he was going to die and would have rejected the forgiveness element of the story. I heard this was rejected because Sony felt that Vulture didn't add enough and didn't really have any reasonable way to tie to Peter. And more with Spider-Man, not with Peter. Understandable. That's why they had to replace him with Venom. And then when Raimi got to work on Spider-Man 4, before it got canceled, he had Vulture as the villain, and apparently there were rumors that Vulture wanted to take over the criminal underworld of New York, and that it wasn't confirmed, but during the midway half of the film, he would have faced Spider-Man, and he would have been killed off after his fight with Spider-Man, after numerous fights, after Vulture was beating him. And then he would tell his daughter to find his lair, where his equipment is, and his daughter, who would have been played by Angelina Jolie, would have become the Vulturess who wanted revenge on Spider-Man, and Spider refuses to hurt her because he loves her and he was traumatized with Vulture, and so Vulturess kills Spider-Man, and essentially Peter gives up being Spider-Man because as long as he's Spider-Man, tragedies like this will continue. And Vulture and his storyline with his daughter did sound a lot familiar with the Osborn storyline, but just condensed into one movie. Because Raimi had intended for this film to be the conclusion of his version of Spider-Man. But at the end, it's revealed that during the parade, Peter didn't actually die. He survived, but he just gave up being Spider-Man. I'm thankful this movie didn't happen, because from what I've heard and everything I've said, I really would have hated it. I would have hated it a lot. This just would have been a horrible finale to the Raimi films. But let's just get into what if he was in the Raimi films. So Spider-Man 1. He would have been one of the scientists at Oscorp. Nothing really changes. He just would have been one of the scientists at Oscorp, and he would have been played by John Malkovich, since Raimi did have him in mind for Spider-Man 4. And apparently, he'd likely be one of the board leaders who would decide to replace Norman as the CEO of Oscorp. And remember when Green Goblin killed the board leaders? Yeah, he would try to kill Toombs, but he would end up failing to do so. And then when Green Goblin is killed, Toombs would take immediate charge as the new CEO of Oscorp. And then Spider-Man 2 would be mostly the same, except Toombs would have helped with Harry in, the Trinium project done by Octavius. And it doesn't go as haywire as it does. It goes somewhat better, even though clearly Octavius still goes bad, and essentially, not only does he go after Harry, he also goes after Toombs to help him with finishing his project. Meanwhile, Toombs is working on a suit of tech wings. And apparently, that is like a project he had after Octavius's went wrong. And when Octavius is beginning to unleash his experiment again, it's even more stronger. And this leads to probably a quicker final battle. And Dr. Octopus probably lives in this timeline. Probably. But then we move on to Spider-Man 3, the film Raimi wanted to make. Apparently Vulture would act as the villain, but I would pretty much begin the film with Vulture robbing a bank, and his first fight with Spider-Man would be like in the tie-in game of the first film where he was one of the bosses, and Spider-Man defeats him. Vulture goes to jail. Now, in terms of what his suit would look like, I imagine that Harry may have given some of the Goblin suit gear to Toombs in between films. So, there is some context. And then, of course, he would be the one to break Sandman out, so Flint wouldn't be the only one breaking out. And apparently, Toombs and Flint would depart ways after taking out some of the guards. And then during, like, Peter's time wearing the black suit taking out criminals, there would be another fight with Vulture, one that would show that Spider-Man the black suit isn't normal. It's actually something else. Like I'd say maybe Vulture slashing his wing at Spider-Man, and so that's like a hint. And in the end, Vulture would escape. But the symbiote wouldn't go to Eddie Brock. It'd just be forgotten about throughout the rest of the film. And Vulture would not only kidnap MJ, but he would also kidnap Gwen. And this would lead to Spider-Man and Harry facing Vulture and Sandman. Apparently, Vulture would be defeated and Harry would survive, because I really don't know how they would kill Harry off in this film, so beats me. And we would still have the forgiveness moment of between Peter and Flint. And the funeral will be avoided for Harry. And he would likely become the new CEO of Oscorp, and he probably would start a relationship with Gwen Stacy, most likely. But as for the symbiote, it probably would have gone to Eddie Brock later, or it may have gone to Harry. Or it'd probably go after John, but either way would lead to Spider-Man facing Venom. But as for Peter's relationship with MJ, it probably would have ended, or it just be on hold. Not too sure what would be the best case scenario. But I'm sure you have your own ideas in the comments down below. So that's why Vulture was in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Do I think he should have appeared? Yes, he really should have been the villain of Spider-Man 3. I really sympathize with Raimi on what happened with this film. Spider-Man 3 really should have happened the way it was supposed to. Now, the reason why I had Harry and Vulture survive, because I think had Raimi gone far ahead with his original vision for Spider-Man 3, I probably don't see any reason to kill Harry off. There wouldn't be any reason to kill Harry off. Same thing with Vulture. It'd probably be the one Spider-Man movie with the least deaths, probably. I mean, you could argue Spider-Man 3 did kill off Uncle Ben, but that was only in flashbacks. That's all I have to say. I don't really count that. But anyways, I will see you all later.